Ji, Assalamu alaikum. So we are on the horizon now of Pakistan's tour of the West Indies, who are the reigning T20 World Champions in a year where the T20 World Cup will be held in Abu Dhabi and Oman in just a few months' time. So बहुत exciting series है ये पाकिस्तान के लिए. एक बहुत बड़ा test है after the England series, जहाँ पे Pakistan showed a lot of promise, लेकिन unfortunately were unable to get over the line and secure victory in that final T20 after a devastating victory in the first and a lackluster performance in the second. तो ये बहुत interesting series होने वाली है because West Indies have their own unique brand of cricket and it seems to suit a lot of their players to play a condensed form of cricket. It suits their striking abilities and it just certainly has been proven to be true over the last few World Cups, with them having won the World Cup on two separate occasions. That T20 is the format that has revived West Indian cricket and put a little bit more energy and enthusiasm back into cricket for youngsters in that West Indies region, which was just simply struggling to motivate its youngsters to get into cricket with the lures of basketball and other sports just close to sort of America that seem to be more lucrative. Lekin cricket is making a comeback, and world cricket really needs a good West Indies team in order to restore the balances of cricketing ideologies in the world today. तो सबसे पहले मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि let's look at a preview of how this series can shape up by looking at the squads and looking at the strategies that Pakistan might be able to employ to be able to counter this West Indies team, who have just devastatingly defeated Australia 4-1 on home soil in T20 cricket. They seem to have a very strong hold over the Australians, and they've made these Australian legendary bowlers seem rather ordinary in West Indies, on the West Indies wickets in recent days. So Pakistani bowlers, they will have their work cut out. Let's look at the opening positions for West Indies. तो वहाँ पे तीन players इस वक्त खेल रहे हैं. Simmons है, Fletcher है, or Lewis. And Lewis tends to be the player that has the highest strike rate and the highest average. So he is a very, very dangerous player. Obviously, he will give chances, especially in that power play. Lekin, if he gets going, he can take the game away and set up a great platform for their middle order, which is also one of the strongest middle orders, which we'll get on to in a few minutes. So, सबसे पहले तो मैं कहूँगा इनकी strongest team में मेरे ख्याल से even Lewis will start for the West Indies in that first T20 if they go with their strongest team. And then it'll be a pick between Simmons and Fletcher. And I think Simmons is just edging it on averages and has a slightly higher strike rate as well. But Fletcher himself bats at a strike rate of well over 100. So whoever they go for, we know their strategy. They will go after the Pakistani bowlers in that first power play. They will bat at a strike rate of over 100, and Pakistan must get an early breakthrough. So Pakistani bowlers know that they have their work cut out, but an early breakthrough would then open up the West Indies batting into their middle order. But this, unfortunately, is no respite for that Pakistani cricket team because they have the likes of Gale, Universe Boss. I don't need to say anything else about him. One of the legends of T20 cricket, has been playing cricket for the West Indies since the 20th century and is still going very, very strong. We saw him make an appearance for Quetta Gladiators in the PSL. So Pakistan are very familiar with what Chris Gale can do. There is one thing that Pakistan can, however, take is that some of these West Indies batsmen have struggled against the Pakistani attack, and their strike rates against Pakistani bowlers is not as high as it is against some of the other bowlers from other top nations. So Pakistan have previously got their strategy right against the West Indies, तो ये चीज़ हमारे फेवर में जाती है. For example, उनका जो बहुत बड़ा हिटर है who hit 6 जो पावल है, उसकी strike rate पाकिस्तानी bowlers के खिलाफ सिर्फ 102 है, which is the lowest strike rate that he has against all other nations if you take them into comparison with Pakistan. तो ये चीज़ एक positive sign है. लेकिन if you look at that middle order, you have the Gales, you have the Purans, you have Hetmeyer, you have Andre Russell, Bravo, you have devastating hitters. They will not stop. West Indies have a good strategy. They back themselves to chase any total because they know that they bat deep. They've got some of the world's most powerful hitters in that middle order. Of course, Powell, the captain, is there as well. And some of these players have IPL experience. They play franchise cricket. They've even played the T10 in Abu Dhabi, so they are familiar with the conditions that they will be facing in the World Cup. लेकिन जो टीम जिनके players छह छक्के मार चुके हो, जिनका एक इंडिविजुअल छह छक्के मार चुका है एक ओवर में, not the too distant past against Sri Lanka, और जो T10 क्रिकेट खेलते हो, और जिनके ओपनर्स आके स्ट्राइक रेट ऑफ well over 100 खेलते हो, you know that they are going to be playing a very attacking form of cricket. लेकिन यही चीज एक ओपनिंग प्रोवाइड करती है पाकिस्तान के लिए, बिकॉज अगर इनकी विकेट्स फॉल शुरू होने लगे, इनकी विकेट्स गिरना, तो then it can lead to a spiraling impact and it can lead to a collapse because इनकी defensive game, not that some people will argue they need one, लेकिन sometimes in the game of cricket you do need to consolidate your position. तो अगर पाकिस्तान can get onto a momentum और एक दो विकेटें ले लें, तो do not be surprised if you find a big collapse within this West Indies team where they suddenly start looking like they're going to completely struggle with the score, something like 40 for 4 or 50 for 5. तो ये चीज भी distinct possibility है. लेकिन beware Pakistan, even at 50 for 5, the West Indies batting lineup is still strong enough to get them up to 150, 170 if needed. क्योंकि इनकी batting all the way down जाती है, इनके bowlers भी छक्के मार सकते हैं. So it is going to be a very, very strong batting lineup from the West Indies. लेकिन मैं एक और चीज कहना चाहता हूँ कि इनकी bowling को भी आप underestimate ना करें, क्योंकि इस वक्त इनके पास Cottrell है who is bowling, McCoy है who's bowling, and they've got a new googly bowler, leg spinner called Hayden Walsh, जो पाकिस्तानी fans ने शायद ज़्यादा इनको ना देखा हो, लेकिन in this Australian series, especially Walsh, their spinner, has caused a lot of problems to the Australian batsman, has regularly taken wickets, and has bowled at a decent economy in most of those games as well. In fact, a very good economy, and has proven to be a match winner. और अगर आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया के scores देखें इनके खिलाफ, they've struggled to get over even 150 at times in T20 cricket. So do not underestimate the bowling and the fielding potential of the West Indies, which is then backed up with some very strong batting in terms of the depth that they have in that lineup and the strike rates with which they can all play with. So Pakistan will have their work cut out. Let's move on and look at what Pakistan might be able to do to counter this. So definitely on these slow wickets which we've seen in the West Indies, Pakistan must utilize their spin bowlers. So in my opinion, Shadab must play as vice captain. I think Imad Wasim must bowl with the new ball. I think Mohammad Hafiz must get overs and then I think they'll play an Osman Qadir as well. So चार spinner तो मेरे ख्याल से पाकिस्तान की टीम में होंगे, and Hafiz provides that balance because we know he will be batting in the top order if selected as well. तो ये चार मेरे ख्याल से spin होंगे, लेकिन don't forget Mohammad Nawaz could come in place of a Shadab or an Imad Wasim as well. He is somebody who also provides batting possibilities. पाकिस्तान के स्क्वाड में दो प्लेयर्स हैं जो इस इंग्लैंड के टूर में यूटिलाइज नहीं हुए, अरशद इकबाल एंड मोहम्मद वसीम जूनियर. ये दोनों प्लेयर्स जो हैं इनको भी अब मौका मिलना चाहिए है बिकॉज दे वर डेफिनेटली नॉट यूटिलाइज्ड on this England tour, or definitely Pakistan ki bowling at some occasions, especially in the seam department, did look like it lacked a little bit of potency. So Shaheen Shah Afridi might be getting a rest on this series. He probably won't because he's been playing almost every single game for the last 2 years for Pakistan. He doesn't seem to take a rest. Lekin at some point he will need to take a rest, and at some point you do need to try out some of your other seam bowling options, especially those that have performed in the PSL in the latest edition, PSL 6, held in Pakistan and then in Dubai. So Pakistan ke paas ye options hain to definitely utilize. In the middle order, Misbah Haq has recently come out and said, yeah, same old story in the middle order. Pakistan have not really moved on. Lekin main simply ye cheez kahunga ki Misbah ji, some of that responsibility, if not all of that responsibility, lies with you as somebody who has coached this team and also been integral in terms of picking the 11 that plays for Pakistan. Aapko kisi ne nahi kaha tha, nobody in world cricket ever told you to use Fakhar Zaman, who is an established Pakistani opener in white ball cricket, and use him at 5 and 6 when you know the spinners are likely to be on. And that, I think, was a major blunder by Pakistan in the series against England. Also, nobody told you to drop Azam Khan in that final T20 and not replace him with an extra batsman. You ended up playing 7 bowlers, of which you did not even use Mohammad Hasnain for even 1 over. So team selection was an absolute disaster in that final T20. You, in essence, went into a final match, a series deciding T20 international against England, who are going to be favourites for the World Cup, with effectively only playing 10 cricketers because you chose to drop Azam Khan, pick Mohammad Hasnain, and then choose not to bowl Mohammad Hasnain as well. तो ये चीज भी आपकी प्रॉब्लम थी, आपने पिक नहीं किया. You made the middle order weak when you could have played another specialist batsman in a match that we needed to score runs, and in a match where we struggled to score enough runs. तो ये चीज भी आपके उस पे जाती है. And then the final thing I would say is that as good as Babar and Rizwan have been, as good as they have been as the opening combination for Pakistan, simply I do not think that the strike rates that both of these batsmen play with are going to be strong enough to counter the West Indies. West Indies की जो openers हैं, आप देखेंगे, they batted 110, 120, 125 strike rates, more or less from the word go, and they maximize and utilize their power play. यहाँ पे वो वाली क्रिकेट नहीं होगी कि आपने 45 बॉल्स में 60 बनाई और आपके ओवर 100 स्ट्राइक रेट हो गए और आपने मैच जीत गए. यही चीज आपको मैच हराएगी. तो पाकिस्तान एंड Misbah ul Haq, you need to rethink your opening strategy. Babar Azam is one of the world's best T20 batsman, lekin he must utilize that power play a lot more strongly than he has done, especially on wickets that are conducive to batting. और ये चीज पाकिस्तान अभी तक यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पाए हैं, in my opinion. और हमारी strike rate is simply too low, and we are always 20 to 25 runs short because we are not playing a positive enough brand of cricket needed to defeat the best teams in the world. So again, opening combination with Misbah ji, I think, is something that you have to look at, considering you are the head coach of this Pakistan team. और फिर दो तीन ऐसे decisions हैं in the squad that, you know, really baffle me, but it's something that you must take into account. For example, Azam Khan, who did not have a good PSL 6, is a bright talent for the future potentially. लेकिन आपने ex-captain सरफराज अहमद को जब squad में रखा है, और अगर आप middle order में troubles face कर रहे हैं, तो Sarfaraz Ahmed is somebody who has been a top 5 run scorer in T20 cricket in the latest edition of the PSL. How can you pick an Azam Khan ahead of Sarfaraz Ahmed? It is absolutely non-meritocratic. So जो भी आपकी selection policy है, you must review it in a lot more thorough detail, because you are not playing a player in form that you have picked in your squad and instead are replacing him with a new youngster who has not proven himself even on the domestic level at this moment in time. So Sarfaraz Ahmed could be somebody that is used in that middle order. And then finally, Sharjeel Khan. He's been in the squad. He should not be wasted by just being a tourist in England and the West Indies. He's somebody who we know can score a century. He scored one in the PSL 6. If he gets going, he bats at a high strike rate. So again, is an option for Pakistan to use up on the top order. Me personally, why not go with a Fakhr and Sharjeel and see what they can do? Give them the license to hit. Play them in all 4 T20s. There aren't 5 now, there's only 4 because of the COVID crisis. And make them play all 4 and allow them the opportunity to really express themselves and see what they can do. And pack your middle order with a Babar and a Rizwan, so that if you lose early wickets, you've still got a very stable and reliable middle order to fall back on. And then you can mix that up with a little bit of Sohaib Maksud as well. And that will give you a very solid top 5 in my opinion. So, मेरे ख्याल से Pakistan need to just rethink their batting strategy, their batting order. I think they're struggling in the opening department in terms of a high strike rate, although they've got 2 of the world's best T20 players who are in form at the moment. And I think they're definitely struggling in the middle order, but that is because they're not utilizing their players in the right position and not picking on meritocratic basis, in my personal opinion. Lekin, bowling looks very positive. Hassan Ali has been in great form. He's been taking a lot of wickets. Haris Rauf is always somebody who takes wickets, although is a tad expensive. We've got these backup bowlers such as Mohammad Wasim Jr. who are in and around the squad as well. So ये हमारी seam options हैं. And then we're blessed with a lot of spin options. We've got Mohammad Nawaz, we've got Imad Wasim, we've got Shadab Khan, we've got Mohammad Hafiz. So these are 4 definite potent bowlers that we may be able to use, and we've got a lot of options there in the spinning department, especially if you add Osman Qatar as that 5th option as well, who I forgot to mention just now as well. So, what do Pakistan need to do with their squad? Yes, as I just said, they can revamp their batting order, but in terms of their bowling, I think that they need to index heavily on their spinners. They need to utilize them in the power play. They need to use them in the middle order and, really counter that West Indies attack. You'll need to play fire with fire. You'll need to play positive cricket, and you'll need to not relax at any point. You're going to have to attack and go for the jugular if you get any sort of momentum going, because the West Indies lineup will not stop. And in my opinion, If Pakistan can get the West Indies on a roll, they can restrict them, they can cause a collapse, and they can end up chasing a total of around 170, 180 if West Indies are batting first. And that should be something that Pakistani batsmen should be able to chase on those wickets. So that is the overall strategy that I would look for from the bowling department and the batting department. लेकिन बहुत आसान है बात करना, उससे बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल है परफॉर्म करना. हम इस पाकिस्तान टीम को बैक करते हैं. We think this is the Pakistani team that will be the core of the team that goes to the World Cup. और हम बहुत सारी उम्मीदों के साथ यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं कि पाकिस्तान इस वर्ल्ड कप में कुछ कर सकता है. We have a young, exciting team. We're playing against the world champions. We're playing against one of the best teams ever assembled in T20 cricket in their backyard. So it's a great test. It'll be a very exciting series. आप मुझे ज़रूर बताएं. Please subscribe to the channel. Put it into the comments. Like this video. Help me out a little bit. आप मुझे बताएं आपको क्या लगता है पाकिस्तान की फर्स्ट 11 लाइनअप क्या होगी. आपको लगता है इन 4 मैचेस के सीरीज का रिजल्ट क्या होगा. डू यू थिंक पाकिस्तान कैन बीट द वेस्ट इंडीज, या डू यू थिंक वेस्ट इंडीज विल क्रश पाकिस्तान like they have crushed Australia? Please comment, interact with me. I'll reply, I'll read all of your comments. मजा आएगा. 2 दिन रहते हैं इस वक्त for that first T20 international. I'm very excited, and then let's see how Pakistan can perform. शुक्रिया.